After doing a review of that awful Defenders comic where three members of the Xmen, three characters that people have loved for years, where they held a woman down while she was being raped, I thought I'd best do something that is a bit more light-hearted, something that isn't insensitive or a controversial topic. So I decided to do this comic, which is the one where Marvel homophobically tried to give the first ever gay superhero AIDS. It's called Alpha Strike, and Alpha Strike is like Canada's superhero team. And the most interesting thing about Alpha Strike, actually, is that after issue 28 of their comic, it became pretty consistently terrible. And somehow it managed to last over 100 issues. This one is issue 44, which is on the cusp. This comic is like on the cusp of the point where there would have been more bad Alpha Strike stories than good Alpha Strike stories. I'll cover the characters like I normally do. This one here, she's the team leader. She's called Miss Maple, and she is very pretty indeed. And this one, Warwick Davis, always good to see him in another comic book. She's called Aurora Borealis. And this guy, he's kind of like the main one. He's the one everyone likes, or he's my favourite at least. He is called Northman. And the thing about him is, he has got 3 superpowers. And I'm going to tell you them in reverse order of importance. First, he can generate intense rays of light whenever he makes physical contact with his sister, Aurora Borealis. Secondly, he has got super speed, which means he can go really fast like that. So if he's like running late for an appointment, he can just start running really fast and get there on time. So that is handy. But his most important power of all is that he is the first ever gay superhero. And not in a snowman from the Excellent Men type of way. He was created in the late 70s as a gay man. And, well, it's a bit of a sad story, really, because at the time, Marvel's editor-in-chief, Jimothy Shooter, he had a very strict no gays at Marvel policy because he's a homophobe. So Northman was never allowed to openly be gay. In fact, one of the only times that characters appeared in a Jimothy Shooter comic and were identified as gay was in a comic that Jimothy Shooter wrote himself. It was a Hulk story, and what happened in it was Bruce Banner, he was staying at the YMCA and he got gang raped by some gay people, and that was probably the only representation of homosexual men in a Marvel comic. But the thing is, they couldn't say that Northman was gay, but there was nothing to contradict the idea. And there was like little hints or suggestions. And like there was one issue where he had where we met his close friend, and it was like obvious that it was meant to be like his ex-boyfriend. And he did eventually get to come out of the closet in issue 106 in a story about AIDS, because apparently AIDS is the only story you could tell with gay characters. But it is quite scary to look at this comic and think that this could have been his story where he came out, where the industry lost the first ever gay superhero to the AIDS panic. And it's really badly done as well. The only thing he does in the whole issue is he coughs or says how weak he is. This character, he is the baddie. He's like a disease man. He touches you and he gives you a disease. He's not that interesting. The story's quite dull. I'm not actually going to cover it. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out the notepad. I think people like when I get the notepad involved. And I am going to count the amount of AIDS coughs that Northman has against the amount of lines of dialogue he has. Right, so to start off, we have got this page here. This is his first line in the whole comic. He says, "Only cough when we lie, cough cold in our graves." So his first line, he has got 2 2 coughs already. Lines of dialogue 1, and a number of coughs 2. And of course that line of dialogue there, only when we lie cold in our graves, that's obviously foreshadowing, isn't it? It's not very subtle. He's got another line there where he's like, why don't you mind your own business, Warwick? So he's got, I won't list it, so we're on 2 lines of dialogue and 2 AIDS coughs. He's got no more lines on that page, none on the next page, none on that page. Right, we've got some here. This is his 3rd line now. Recall the power of cough, pestilence. Snowbird's son would have been cough, linked to the life of the land. So that is his 4th line, and he has got... that is his 3rd line, and he has got 4 coughs. Yes, that is his 3rd line. I just had to think about it. 4th line here. In possessing the cough, infant pestilence became one with the dark forces of decay and death of the land. So that is his 4th line, and he has gotten 5 coughs. His next line down here, he doesn't actually have any coughs in this one, surprisingly. So we are now on to the 5th. That's the 5th line, 5 coughs. 6th line here. Carriers of some cough, pestilence conjured disease, no doubt. So that is his 6th line and 6th cough. Are you getting all the subtext, by the way, about there being a disease that is killing people? It's really subtle, isn't it? Then you go into this bloke's house and he is dying from a disease which is clearly meant to be AIDS. And then we've got his 7th line here. You can generate all the light you'll need, my sister. The others were lights Mr. Jeffries devised. Besides, you have nothing to fear so long as I am cough beside you. They got through the whole line without a cough there. So 7, 7. And even when he's not there coughing or talking about diseases, they only talk about him, about how he's about how his cough grows worse, and he's trying to hide how sick he is. Embarrassing. No lines on this page. And here is the kind of like the scene where they're trying to really hit the hammer on the head. Northman, you lag behind. Why don't I heal Aurora Borealis? And my cough. I have always been in excellent health, an athlete never ill a day in my life. What is wrong with me? Why did you ask Scramble to examine you? He's like a doctor and that. Perhaps because I was afraid of what he'd find. The AIDS. He'd find the AIDS, right. So we were on to the 7th line of dialogue. So 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to count that as 1 because it's continued. 11 lines of dialogue, but we didn't actually have any coughs there. Like that was kind of like the big scene where they were trying to tell you about it, so they didn't do the coughs. So 11 lines of dialogue, 12 lines of dialogue, no cough. 13 lines of dialogue, no cough. So we're on to 13. 14 lines of dialogue, and now to make up for all these we've lost, cough, 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 cough. So 14. Plus 4, that is 11. So now it's starting to even out again. Help me, my sister. He's so weak that he needs help. They just screams her name. So that is 15, 16. No, he's not on this page. And here's his next big bit. 16 we're on. No, is it 16? Hold on. That was 14, 15, yeah, 16. We're on 16. This is his 17th line. Aurora Borealis, she cough fled from me, abandoned me, driven by her cough fear of darkness. I must cough find her, see that she is cough safe. If only I had the strength to cough run. He's got AIDS. Have you gotten that yet? Right, so that is 16, 17, 18, 19. We're on to 19 lines of dialogue. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more coughs, so that is 16. 16 against 19 at the minute. Wait, that cough light, my sister. So that is 20, and that is 17. 21. There's another cough there, line 21. We are now on to 18. 21. That looks like a 3, but it's meant to be a 2. And this next page is another one where they're trying to hammer it home, because he runs to fight the disease man. He doesn't have a cough there, so that is 22 lines of dialogue. 23 lines of dialogue. There's a cough right there. 23. We're on 19 and 23. And so he's punching the diseased man, but he falls over weak. And then this bloke like touches him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" "Well, merely feeding on the decay I sensed within you to make myself stronger." "What do you cough mean? Decay within me?" "That you are dying, speedster. Haven't you sensed it? And my kiss has accelerated the slow disease spreading like a cancer through your cells. Thank you, Northman. Your death has given me new life." Right, so that was 23. 24, none there. 25, we get 2. 2 on 25. So we're at 21 coughs versus 25 lines of dialogue. And also, did you catch the great subtext there? Look, he is kissing him, and he's talking about AIDS. Ugh, fucking terrible. And then what happens is, he pretty much just falls over, weak from the AIDS, and the rest of them save the day. And he spends the whole thing just passed out there like a weak man because he's suffering from AIDS. He doesn't actually do anything else in the whole comic. We just end. So, in the end, rest in peace, Northman. You coughed 21 times in 25 pieces of dialogue. And this isn't taking into account that the four difference there. A lot of the dialogue was stuff about him being weak or ill. So it's basically, really, it's just everything he contributed to the issue was about him having AIDS. And the funny thing is, right, they didn't commit to this story because Jimothy Shooter had the no gays at Marvel policy, so they couldn't even do this story. They just aborted it. And what they said, I'm not 100% sure of this, but I am 95% sure that I want this to be the case. I'm pretty sure that they came back from this and said that what he was suffering from here was just the common cold. Oh, fucking ludicrous, isn't it? And actually, 20 issues later, they did another story with Northman where they revealed that he wasn't human. He wasn't human. He was half human and half fairy. I'm not making this up. They really did that. Fucking awful, isn't it? Anyway, this comic is embarrassing. It is just AIDS fear, and it's so ill thought out and just stupid. And the thing is, take that away and the story is boring anyway. I'm not rating this comic very highly. I'll give it at best 7 thumbs up. It's bad.